What's up, warriors? All right, welcome back to the battlefield of the mind. My name is Rick, and today we got an awesome guest, one that I've been wanting to have on here for a long time to bring some belief back in people's lives. And so today I am with Santa himself, Santa Corky, but we're going to go into the reality of what it takes to become a real Santa. So I'm actually really happy to have you here, brother. I really am.
Awesome. I can't wait. I've been so excited to know that would have the opportunity to be able to share this with the world and through with your people. So I'm super stoked about this. Super excited.
Well, let's get into it. So before we start getting into it, anything on my show, what we end up doing is we get into the real stuff. We get into the reality of things. People usually will jump on this and tell me about your weight loss, and that's so amazing, or tell me about that marathon you ran, or all the happy stuff. I talk about the real shit, the stuff when we were in depression, the stuff when we were in the battles inside of our minds that made it so we had to go to the dark places. And so please, if you could, tell us your story, start from the beginning, and get as raw and real as you want.
Okay. Now, I really, it's not often I get to tell my real story, what really, how I evolved to where I'm at today. And it's probably one of the most exciting things I like to talk about because my prayer is that it does make a difference in somebody else's life. So I knew deep down inside that I was bigger than what I was acting like. I was way bigger than what I was doing, how I was walking through my life at that time. I was way bigger than that. And through that, I just started searching places that I shouldn't have been searching with this underground feeling that I had going on. So back in 1980, I was introduced to rodeos, and I had a wife and two boys, and just working at the slaughterhouse, just a good hardcore union worker at the slaughterhouse and pounding it out. And then I was invited to go to a rodeo with my cousin, and he's was a rodeo clown also. And he said, I need some filling. Can you help me fill in? He says, I got some gear for you. And I started doing the rodeo. And the first rodeo I went, oh my gosh, I love this. And it became very passionate. And what did come with that, though, was a lot of partying. For every weekend was a big party, constant. And at that point, my love for alcohol just really took over. And so I spent several years going through marriages and that kind of thing in the rodeo business. I could have probably done really well as far as going to the NFR, which is a national finals, and people were telling me that I could get there, but alcohol it just started taking over and beginning to destroy my life at that point. And 12 years ago, I was homeless, living with family on their ranch. And finally that ended. And I just said, that's enough. I have to stop. This isn't me. And I began to search. I asked God, my higher power, God, that if you could help me with this, I'll do whatever you ask for me to do. And I ended up at the mission as a volunteer because at that time I needed to eat. But I thought if I volunteered and was of service, that's what I heard God say is serve people. And I thought, okay, serve at the mission. So I'll serve people that way. And then at the same time, I joined a church that really made a big difference in my life. So at that time, I was going to church and I was at the mission. That's all I did. And then within a short period of time, they asked me if I'd like to work for them. The Union Gospel Mission hired me as a fix-it guy at their little thrift store. And that was really perfect because I had my own little Santa shop. That was kind of the beginning. People would donate toys and all kinds of stuff, refrigerators, everything. And something always needed to be fixed. If it was fixable, then we could put it on the shelf and put it out there. So I began doing that, and then the mission needed a kitchen manager, and so I did that mainly because I'm not that big of a chef that I could feed 250 people, but I knew that God was behind it because I just had a heart for about 3 guys there that lived in the streets and they were trying to get out of the streets. So I convinced them to get off the streets, come live at the mission, and we'll start cooking together. And we made it a competition between the 3 every day. It would be one guy's turn to make the best meal, and they really got into it. They started turning their lives around. Now they're married, they have kids. It's just, and I went, oh my gosh, God, you are fulfilling everything that you said you would do if I would just surrender and follow him the best that I could and surrender to serving others. So, and that became my mission, is how many more people can I serve? How bigger can we get and in serving? And so and one thing I do know, to make any change in my life, I needed a spiritual walk. I needed a God in my life. I choose to call it God, but for my real turnaround from the depths of alcoholism, of destroying 2 families and trying to come out of the ashes, was to find another human being and God in my life. And there's no other way I believe anybody can do it. And find the right mentors and the people around your life to help you change your thinking, because that was my biggest obstacle. And I found out that I didn't feel worthy, and I had felt so much guilt and shame for what I had done in the past 30 years that at 57 at that time is when I turned my life around, and I had quite a destructive path behind me. And my children were at the point that they wouldn't talk to me. And so that was the turnaround. And then we started working with other guys. I say we because when I say God and another human being, my best friend is a recovering person, also recovering. And so together we helped each other at those times that we didn't think we can make it, and without make it as far as go back to drinking or whatever. So that's my biggest thing, is that you need a spiritual walk, and you need another human being in your life, and then surround yourself with people like Rick in your life, so you get a better direction, a better perspective. My best thinking 13 years ago got me where I was at that time, at the mission, homeless and lonely. So you have to get other people's perspective. So I really encourage you, if you're in that situation or you want to get out of that situation, to do that. This is so fun to be able to talk about my real life. Because I have this persona that I have to keep up all the time, and but the magic is a spiritual walk, and another human being, another person, another guy in your life that you can trust 100% to know you're not going to get any judgment at all. And at that time, my best friend became my sponsor, and he told me stories about his life, and there's no way I could have topped that, as far as depravity that you go into for alcohol and drugs. And so I was real comfortable in sharing whatever I have, knowing that I wasn't going to get any judgment. So ask me the time, Rick, and I'll tell you how to build a watch. I'm sorry.
No, I think you're doing great. I really appreciate you sharing all of these. And there's so much power in this story. There's a lot here that I think people will listen to it and go, oh man, those happen, but not really understand what it takes to battle through some of these things. And there's a few things that I want to point out and just kind of get more to those pieces there. I'm going to start from the beginning and grab up some pieces. First thing you said, as I realized early on, I'm bigger than my body gives me credit for.
Mm-hmm. Right.
I think that's all of us. And I think that this was part of where your journey began, to know that there's more to me inside, my thoughts, my feelings, what my purpose is inside here is more than how much space I take up in this physical world.
Right.
And I think a lot of people can relate to that. The emotions we have, the thoughts that we have, our dreams, our purpose, like this bigger than, you know, how tall we are or how wide we are.
Right. And I think all the stuff that we listen to that's negative and isn't positive about our stuff holds that down and covers it up so thick. That was my biggest issue, is that I couldn't see that potential at the time until I started breaking free from that and notice and knowing, becoming knowing. And do you mind if I recommend a book? Okay.
No,
This
please
was a
do. Go ahead.
life-changing book for me. It's by Ogmandino, and it's The Greatest Miracle in the World. And this was life-changing because I found out who I was in my, how God looked at me in my spiritual walk, and not how I looked at me or what I thought the world looked at me. Because the world looked at me like, man, that guy's got so much potential, but he's just wasting it. He's just wasting it. But this book showed me the miracle that I truly am. And I really, really recommend. This is an old book. I've had it for a long time, but years, but I finally cracked it open early in my walk out of the rubble. And this was a great book. I appreciate doing that because if you just go through this, it's not that thick. It's an easy read. I would really highly recommend that.
Ogmandino is the man too.
Yeah, that's cool
He
that you know
started
that.
a lot of these movements too. Like he
Uh-huh.
was a big part of it.
Exactly. You're so true. You're right. Dead on. Yeah.
Yeah, so I
And
really like that you said that too. You also said a sentence. I grab belief system sentences out of people's conversation. The way I thought the world looked at me versus how God looked at me. And, these are the things that will create an entire infrastructure of the world inside of our heads and then call it true. We don't actually need any facts for this, by the way. We can just have a belief of what I think something is and then call it true. I think those
exactly.
people think this about me. They think I'm wasted potential. They think I'm just squandering my things. The reality is they thought about you for 5 seconds that day.
Right. That's exactly right. That's
We all
exactly
have our own things. We all have our own stuff. They'll go like, he probably could do a lot more. Hey, who wants pizza? Like,
right.
we're not really thinking about people as much as people think people are thinking about you.
Right.
They're just
Right.
not. We got our own bills and our own problems and our own vices and our own battles. And
Mm-hmm.
so we're thinking like, man, they're just thinking about me all day, just how I'm a piece of shit and how I suck. And,
So
I'm the worst and I'm wasting all this stuff. And they're just thinking about how much I suck. And like, they're not.
they're not.
They're,
No, they
they're
are not. They are
But
not.
you are watering that seed that got planted within a couple seconds, and
Uh-huh.
you're nurturing this doubt, this self-loathing, this esteem that's being cut down. That's you nurturing that garden. That seed was just planted, and you don't even have to do anything with it. But
Right.
you're
And
making sure
that's
that
a
thing
constant
grows.
battle daily for all of us. You can always,
Right.
I call it, our dinosaur brain wants to kill us. It wants to first protect us as we stepped out of the cave. What do I do to protect? But there's that demon inside that constantly tells you, well, you're not good enough. You're not big enough. You're not, strong enough. You're not, it's just constant. You don't deserve
I,
it. It's a
I
daily
love it.
battle. It's a
Yeah, I
daily
fight those
battle.
every
The
day with
enemy wants to
people.
take us out, and if he sees a crack in the a chink in the armor, he's going to go for it, man. He's going to go for
Mhm.
it.
Well, I think that's the beauty of it. If I've fought demons and I've slayed dragons and I've broken curses for people, so I know what these battles are. I do them every day, and I
Uh-huh.
know this one when he shows up. Even that one where he says like, "This is a doubt curse. This is how it comes in. I'm just going to make you feel like you're not enough."
Right.
And the thing is with a lot of these, and this is how you can break the curses, is curses aren't necessarily the same types of battles as somebody just told you you're not enough, and then
Yeah.
they left and then you're the one nurturing the curse, which is where you
Yeah.
can let that go or you can break it because it's a
Yeah.
belief system that got put in there.
Now,
And this is
I
the
can
difference.
relate to that as far as my dad. My biological dad was a bad dude, and he
Hmm.
never. I don't ever remember him telling me that he loved me. He barely remember him calling me by name. It was always, "Hey, you. Hey, dummy, come here." My
or
dad
name
was, yeah.
stupid,
And so,
asshole, half-assed,
yeah,
dumbass. Yeah.
yeah. And
Hmm.
that you're dead on.
We had the,
Exactly.
we had the same dad. Yeah, I know the guy.
Uh-huh.
I know that guy. I know that guy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're like, I'm not loved. You never heard words like I'm proud of you. You never heard words like I believe in you. No, no, no.
Exactly, Rick.
And they want you to do well, but just not better than them. And they don't really set the bar very high.
You are so dead on. Exactly.
So
You're so dead
these are
on.
the we have to outgrow our fathers, and let's just be real. Some dads don't really make that a tough journey. You're like, I'm
Right?
13 and I outgrew my dad. What the hell? Like, this is
Yeah.
supposed to be in my 30s or something. Like, this is not,
Right.
dad, you should have tried harder. But
That
you're
is
not
so.
wrong where those seeds are just planted.
Uh-huh.
And then you create an identity around the things that you were called or said. We didn't have a defense yet. We didn't have training yet to beat these.
Right.
So
Exactly.
now you become half-ass. You become dummy. You become stupid. You become, you know, whatever names are called to us because those are just dropped in there. And
Mm-hmm.
then we take care of those. We make
Yeah.
sure those grow.
Yeah. Exactly.
I'm with
So
you on
true.
these ones. And so then you went into the fast life because you know what? I'm going to prove. Let me just ask you this. Do you have that thing inside of you? If someone says you can't do it, you're going to show them?
Yes.
Yeah, you got that thing. That's that warrior spirit that's in there where like,
Right.
you can't ride that bull. You can't ride that horse. You can't survive that. You're like,
Right.
watch me.
Yeah.
You got that thing, right?
Yeah.
So there's that
Exactly.
warrior in you who's found this rodeo world. You found a world
Right.
where you can be a warrior and you can
Right.
fight the most dangerous creatures.
Yeah.
You get to do the impossible. And you're
Exactly.
like,
Run around
I'll
those
show you.
bulls. I can hold his horn while he's attacking me and what dance
Mhm.
around him. Yeah, that was, yeah, it was the dance of the bulls, and
Oh,
it
danger.
brought me all kinds of attention,
Oh,
that
I
I was
bet,
looking
man.
for, tons of attention. Yeah.
Yeah. And you never felt worthy. You never felt good when you were growing up and you knew you were bigger than your body. And now you had a place where you could show how amazing you are by
Yeah.
doing something nobody else would even ever attempt to do.
Yeah. Rick, can I relate something? You just
Yeah.
brought something out and I haven't thought about this in a long time. Is I would be in front of a crowd of 5 to 10,000 people. The rodeo is just done. I did some really fun, creative moves and stuff, and then I have my barrel. Party's over. People are leaving the grandstands. I'm rolling the barrel back to my camper and it through the arena, and I have tears running down my face because it's all over. It's gone. I don't have that attention anymore. It was so
Well,
filling at the time, but then I went back to my loneliness at that time, and that's when the drinking kicked in too,
it's because
because I didn't want. I was pushing it down.
you found the void that was empty and you were trying to fill it.
Right. Exactly.
And since those feelings were there and it felt good when you were on a high, I have to find something else to fill that with pleasure. I have to find something else to fill this. And this is where, like, working with other guys, even with me, where I would go, it's not about filling it because you want it filled. It's, do you know why that hole is there? So you don't have to have something else fill it up.
Right.
And right now you were, this is the combination, and we're going to kind of get into where the addiction comes from for people. I make sure I remind people of this is you are not addiction. You are not, Santa Corky, the alcoholic, as they do in AA. I'm an alcoholic. I'm like, well, careful. We're creating a belief system here. You are
No,
not an alcoholic.
I
You are
agree.
a
And
person
if
who
you want, I
works.
can, yeah. No, I'm a recovered
Yeah.
alcoholic. I'm done.
Or
I
you're
don't
a
drink.
person who used to drink.
Yeah,
That's
I
not who
don't.
you are. It's just something that used to happen.
Rick, dead on. Yeah, that's my total focus. Total.
I love it. So we're here. So this is where you get into, it was something that there was missing from your life that you didn't know how to work on. And so I have to fill it with a distraction. And right now, it's the rodeo gives me the distraction. I feel good. I feel seen. I feel loved. I feel wanted. I feel appreciated. I feel good enough. I feel worthy.
Yeah.
And then the show's over and I'm alone again. So I'm going to go party with friends so I can try and get that high again. And I don't want them to see me for who I am because I don't like what that thing is right now. And so I'm going to be the star of the show again.
Right. Exactly.
And I'm going to take my inhibitions, throw them out the damn window, and be the wildest fuck you've ever met.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
But there's a toll, though, and that's
And
where
then
that price
women
tag
and the
frustration.
women thing come in because I got a lot of attention, and that was a whole nother addiction, you know.
You're a bad boy. I didn't say I'm a good guy. I'm wild. I'm an untamed stallion.
Yep. There would be one Friday night or two, or at a time, or Saturday another different one.
Santa's a wild horse. You can't tame this pony.
This feels so strange talking about when I'm in my suit. I mean,
it's a different planet, though. But this is part of the evolution. Is like, where were we? What did we have to go through? And it's part of the evolution. And you'll see where I go with this. To say, like, awesome. You know what, we have to go into the darkness to be able to find the light. And so there's a lot of people right now who will be listening to this who are struggling with depression, who are struggling with the dark thoughts that make it feel like their identity is routed in a diagnosis right now. Their identity is routed in a trauma they don't know how to actually work through or train out of. People who are only doing half of their grief, and they're running into being diagnosed with bipolar because they only know how to do radical acceptance without actually doing grieving. So this is like, is what it is, totally fine, whatever, dad sucks.
A little bit. What's the radical acceptance? I like that way you said that, but I'd like you to double click on it a little bit for me.
Let's do it. So radical acceptance, we're going to get into. People, let's just kind of grab the ending and then pull it backwards.
Okay.
How much would you like it where people could just be open and true with each other? Like you said, with your guy that's your guy, I want to have 100% trust, and I want to be open and honest, right?
Yeah.
And how lovely is it to be able to say, like, I can tell you the truth, the bottom of my heart truth, and not have blame, shame, judgment, and guilt applied, even offense.
Gosh, that is just total weight fallen off. And we've made a practice of doing that on the daily not daily now, but often if something comes up that, hey, I just need to talk about this, because we've done it in the past really often through our recovery process. But once you've done that, it's enlightening, because you've opened up a whole new corridor that you don't have that veil over your eyes anymore, or over your spirit, which opens up so much more for you to grow and get out of that. It's absolutely, you know what the cool part is when you listen to somebody doing it, when you're working together doing this, it's absolutely freeing. Like I've never been so free, because they spent 57 years hiding behind all this crap. And then to be able to go, yeah. And it's I call it peeling the onion. You just get deeper and deeper in it, and you get freer and freer. And then you get to the end of my story where I am now and what's happening because of the, and I know we'll get there, but.
You're doing great. You're actually seeing it. The first two rules in the Warrior's Way for our men when we're working together, rule number 1 is trust. We do not betray each other.
Exactly.
We don't post each other's stuff. We don't share stuff outside of the group. It's Vegas rules. What happens in our conversation stays here.
Exactly.
Rule number 2 is no blame, no shame, no judgment. What has happened, and each loss is meant to teach us a lesson, and each mistake is meant to teach us to grow from it, not be shamed or put down or judged for it. Those things in the past happened already, and we can't change them. That's not how time works.
Right. Exactly. And that's part of what go ahead. That's part of what it is for between Chris and I, my best friend, is that there's nothing that I could do because there's nothing he can say to me, because I know what I have done. So who am I to throw a rock? I can't judge because of the craziness I've done,
Correct. Well, this gives us camaraderie. But this is
Right.
getting into the part where what's the problem with truth, though?
Oh,
And like
yeah.
you said, 57 years of truth was able to be corrupted, able to be manipulated, able to
Right.
be omitted, able to
Right.
be hidden. And I can give you a reality now with truth that I want you to see. This means I can control the way you're allowed to know me.
Yeah.
I can control your perception of me. I can
Right.
control whether you think I'm a badass or if I'm a big softy. I can control my failures and I can control my successes by only telling you what I want you to know.
Exactly.
This is the reality most people live in. Even right
Right.
now in my new book, I've got a whole chapter on trust where it speaks that the realities that we share, and this is why dangerous sentences for today is my truth. It's
Yeah.
very dangerous because people are now arguing that their one point of view on seeing something is the only point of view that matters. This becomes
Yeah.
dangerous. And so when people
Yeah.
say, I want the truth, well, there's a problem with the truth because if I say this is where I see it from, and someone else says, no, you're wrong. You're wrong. You're bad. You're an idiot. You're stupid. You're a moron. You're an evil person. You're blah, blah, blah. Point the finger,
Right.
blame, shame, judgment.
Right.
Well,
Right.
there's a missing piece then. People can't have radical truth. I was reading on a lady who did radical truth for a year, and by the end of the year, she was completely in a hermit status. She was
Wow.
isolated, didn't have any friends, and couldn't be near people because you can't just radically tell the truth without a piece. And that piece was, let's double click back on it, radical acceptance. I need to be able to accept what you're saying without going in on you or getting offended. I need to
Mm-hmm.
be able to hear where you're coming from with curiosity and not condemnation. I want to hear,
Yes.
well, what do you think without taking it personal?
Right.
And this is where we have to practice the acceptance aspect. Now, the reason you weren't able to get to acceptance is because you were still stuck in denial. There is a reality of worthiness I do not want to even look into because it hurts too bad. And since I
Mm-hmm.
can't even look in there, I need to distract myself from that bad feeling or the way dad treated me or how people weren't really ever acknowledging or noticing me. I don't want to think about that. I just want to fill that void. And
Yes.
so then distraction comes in, and that's where alcohol or rodeo or girls or whatever comes in. I need any external validation to either numb that pain or to distract me from that pain, but there's a cost to each
Yes.
of those that starts to wear you down.
Yes.
So we have to go through the phases of acceptance then. And this is just the grieving cycle that most people don't understand is a skill. It's not something you're born with. It's thing you learn to go through. And I train it hard. You have to go
Uh-huh.
past denial and accept reality of what is. So that way you're not stuck in a fake persona. You're not
Right.
stuck
That's
in
what happened. Yeah. That's exactly what happened. I looked at my surroundings going, look, you're homeless. Basically, I ended up in a 20-foot trailer in a dive trailer park. And I used to be a business owner. I owned, I I was done really well at a few times in my life, but that kind of thinking always took me back. But then it came back down to I had to stop and get real, get out of my delusional thinking. And that's where I needed another God and another human being.
yeah. Oh,
Like I
we'll
said, my
get
best
there.
thinking got me here. Now what? Now what? Is this you? You gonna end up here? No.
Exactly. And this is where we'll lead in, like where the reality check had to come in. And we're going to get into surrender. We're going to get into that. Trust me, I have a story that's going to connect with you on this. And this has
Awesome.
happened over and over
Awesome.
again. Now we have to go into bargaining. Bargaining is the phase that it slips under the radar pretty often. People don't notice bargaining as often because bargaining disguises itself up as the fantasy. The if only I had this, then I could have this. If
Yeah.
only I can perform well enough, then I'll get love. If only I'm tough enough, people will love me or appreciate me or notice me. If only I'm fun enough. If only I'm wild enough. If only, and we create these imaginary universes that we're in. And then all of the red flags, we don't see the red flags. We don't see them anymore. You know why? Because bargaining is rose-colored glasses. All the red flags just look like regular flags. And so now whenever I'm working with people, yeah, you got it. Now whenever we're seeing the world and we're
Right.
looking at the world this way, everything looks very different. And so when someone goes like, hey, there's that really bad, red flag right there, you're like, looks like a beautiful regular flag to me, and I love it.
Right. Right.
I'm going right into that, no problemo. And so here we are, no longer seeing what is because we're calling it what we want.
Yep.
We can stay in here for a long time. People get
Right.
stuck in bargaining because it comes in through a pleasure system. It's very dangerous.
Right.
But then at some point, the veil has to be lifted.
Right.
At some point, you go, oh, no, the glasses had to come off. And I go, there's the real thing. And that's not good. I can't call it what it is anymore. We have to get to acceptance that that's not, fantasy isn't there anymore.
Right.
Then you have the ones where people try to really suppress.
And that's
anger.
why at that time, when I pulled those rose-colored glasses off, I had to put on a new pair of glasses. And that's,
now you can see it because
those
weren't prescription.
Yeah, right.
Now I got prescription. Those rose-colored glasses weren't even prescription. They were just masking the bad things.
Right.
Now I got prescription glasses, and now I see what that is.
Yeah. Exactly.
This is why having the trusted friends
started getting more clearer. I started looking at things in my life. It became more clear. Oh, when I do that, that's where that pain comes from. Yeah. If I do this, then the pain goes away. And
Now, which direction did you go into? If I had to guess, the first half of your years was more anger.
Now, what direction after I
during the madness, because remember, part of the grieving systems that people don't go into is anger and sadness. Those are the two that people try to suppress the most. Young us is quick to anger, but as we get more into our feelings and who we are, it gets a lot more sad.
It was sad because of the guilt that I was forming around me. Yeah,
what did you do with your anger? What did you do with that?
Huh?
What did you do with your anger then?
I was angry at myself. I was angry at myself, which turned into sad. But then I started drinking more and more and more. And then the anxiety just started building more and more and more. And the more I drank to get away from the anxiety, the worse the anxiety got. And so
you were shame stacked with fear. So shame stacking is where it's where guilt can start off with, I'm sad about something that I did, but shame starts getting into, I'm sad for what I am.
Yes.
And you started getting more of, instead of like, I did something that wasn't good.
Yeah. And at the time I started looking at what my family was looking at. Mainly one of the big things that keeps coming up is watching what I did to my first wife, my first love. And watching her parents go, this is horrible. This guy is not good. And seeing what I did to my first little family, as a young man, I think that's where I was really trying to get away from, was that.
Yeah. Yeah. There's because you recognize, like, I had to practice all of my failures on you and my kids.
Yeah.
And it's a really tough realization that me having to work through my battles in my mind, you are a casualty, you are collateral damage.
Right.
Yeah, and holding on to
behind me.
Yeah, the shame of what kind of man I have to be to do that to people who were not deserving of that level of damage.
Right. And Rick, part of that too was one of the biggest changes is I said I was never going to be like my dad. Well, I wasn't exactly like my dad, but I still did the destruction like my dad, just in a different pattern. And that was like, I went, oh my gosh, I'm doing what my dad did to us.
Talk about a wake up.
Yeah.
That'll wake you right up.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And that's what really went, oh my gosh, I got to stop this. And yeah.
That's powerful. It's a powerful sentence. I think it's important that we keep reminding that we are meant to outgrow our fathers. Now, there are some really badass dads out there that set that bar high where I'm like 50 before I can beat my father out and, be a better man than my dad. I stand on his shoulders. Some good dads out there. But there's some dads who are like, I'm just going to use everything that you taught me. And that's going in the what not to do category.
That's exactly what happened. I call it my blessing. I call it my blessing. I am today who I am because of my biological father. Because to me, it was a gift that he gave me. It was a gift.
Yeah.
In the
it
time
doesn't feel like a gift at the time.
No, it was horrible. It was awful. But I get to look back now, and it truly was a gift. I am who I am today because of my biological dad.
Yeah. Well, listen. We're gonna tap back into that because this is something you and I have in common. Where like we had to go through trauma, abuse, and being treated poorly, but it also shows you how damn tough you are.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times people are going, that all happened. Yeah, they're like, that all happened to me. That happened to me. And I'm like, did it though? It's kind of like when I worked out, I, was really pulling muscles and straining and ripping and tearing the muscles. And it hurt so bad for that short time that I was doing it. I'm like, but it made it so your muscles had to repair stronger.
Right. You become defined.
So, yeah, you're a lot tougher now. You're stronger now. You have more endurance now. You have more strength now. It's like, was it really that traumatic, or was it a part of revealing your warrior spirit?
Right.
Does it show you how much you're able to handle? But if you can't look in and don't know how to do those battles, you have to try and numb.
Right.
You have to try to retreat. You have to try and suppress. You have to try and hide. And you didn't know how to fight yet. You weren't trained yet.
Right. Exactly.
So at the time, you were a victim instead of a warrior.
Exactly.
And so you're like, I don't want to be like that. I don't want to be like that. I don't want to be like that. And you manifested the universe where you became like that.
Yep. Exactly.
We can't. The suppression leads to expression. We will become what we think about or what we focus on the most.
Yeah, totally.
And so, honor to your kids and first wife going like, I hate that I had to learn that lesson on you guys.
Yep. I agree.
It's a tough one.
Yeah.
But also like testament to being able to say, look how strong we are because we're still here. I do a math thing. Are you good at math?
I can be a little bit. Yeah.
Let's test. I'm going to test out your math skills. I do this as one of the lessons when we beat anxiety, because there's steps to beating anxiety. Mm-hmm. This is one of the things where I have people do quick math. Now, Santa, you've been through a lot of stuff, man. You've been through some ups and downs. You fought actual wild animals and done some really crazy stuff. You had to go through some massive loss, massive hardships. Let's do a math check here. What percentage would you say is your survival rate to this point? Like what percentage is I've survived this percentage? What's your percentage of survival so far?
I'm still trying to grab your question. I just don't want to pick a number. I want to understand it. I don't want to just
do it a different way.
Yeah.
What's your percentage of being dead?
Being dead?
Yeah.
0.
So what's your percentage of survival?
100.
You got 100% survival right now, brother. You ain't never died. You're still here no matter what life has thrown at you.
Yes.
You're at 100% success so far.
Oh, I see what you got. Okay, now I get where you're at. Yeah, perfect.
Nice.
No, I'm 100%. So, I'm actually at 70. I'm almost 70. I'm 110 compared to a lot of people in my life around guys my age.
So no matter what has happened, no matter what's been thrown at you, no matter what abuse is, no matter what neglect, no matter what abandonment, no matter what losses that you've gone through, nothing has taken you out yet. You're that tough.
Right. I was told to go home and get your affairs in order. I'm a cancer survivor. You got 1 year to live. You have melanoma cancer. It's going to go in your liver, your brain. It's going to kill you within a year. I said, no.
Death right in the eye.
It's not.
Death square in the face.
It's not going to do that. And I just started searching it and looking into it and finding the right people to talk about it. I searched out survivors. I talked to them. How did you do it? And
30, 40 a lot more holistic than people were trying to tell you.
Right. Right. And 34 years later, I've had heart surgery. I've had knee surgery.
You're a lot stronger than people would give you credit for. You are a
Yeah.
warrior, and you're
Yeah.
finding that.
You know,
Santa's not weak.
I
Santa's strong as hell.
this brings up something that I heard from my oldest grandson, my oldest grandchild, my son. He says, Grandpa, he looked me in the eye. He says, you're one of the toughest men I know. And I went, if I died today, I'm good. I'm good. If I died today, I'm good. When your grandson, he's 21 years old now, looks at you and says, Grandpa, you're one of the toughest guys I know. Lord, thank you. This battle's been worth it. This battle has been worth it.
You're leading the way by example.
Yeah.
And you give him hope.
Yeah.
You give him an example of, man,
Yeah.
my grandpa showed me there's a way I can fight. There's a way to get stronger.
And that's been one of the biggest thing I wanted to do after the whole destruction, the tornado's done. I'm coming out of the disaster, is to leave a legacy. That is,
well, after volcanoes erupt, there's still life that comes after that.
Right. I live right next to Mount St. Helens. I can tell you that.
Oh yeah, then you know.
I can see the tip of Mount St. Helens from our mountains. There's still some little bit left, and you can barely see it. But yeah, that's a good point. Now I'll look at it totally different, Rick, and I appreciate that.
It's really great. Yeah, you had your volcano years, but after the volcano cools down,
right,
life begins again.
Right.
Yeah, I honor you. Thank you for having the courage to share that. It's a beautiful moment.
Yeah, thank you.
Very, very cool, man. Very cool.
And that's one of the things I've learned to do in this time is to be vulnerable and show your feelings. It's okay, man. It's okay, man. People want to see you in that. They want to see that in you. That means a lot to them.
I think this is I think you are right, but this is also something like you said with your like best guy is with certain people, this is highly acceptable. But we are in a world of shame and judgment right now. We are in a world where people don't see vulnerability as strength because they don't understand it. And it is shamed for being called a weakness, even though that was not weakness. That was a powerful moment that you had a connection with one of the most important people in your life. But people are like, why is this guy crying? It's like he's crying because he has a good ass heart. And he didn't repress his heart. He has the courage to put it on the table and say, I love this kid. And this kid loves me. And he sees me. And it makes me feel actually something that I was fighting for my whole life, from my father, from the crowd, from the women, from the drinking, from the bulls themselves, is something that was given to me by my grandson, is that I can be proud of myself.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
And for the first time in my life, I can say, I am worthy of being proud of myself.
Yeah.
And my grandson can give me one of those moments, and I can accept it and have the strength and courage to accept it.
Right. That was a huge
This
moment.
is why, hell yeah, it is. This is why the darkness that we had, the addiction, the danger, the dirt, the rodeo, the slaughterhouse, the demons that we had to live with. If you are one of those people, rock bottom is something I fucking hope you find.
Yeah.
I hope you find that day when you're in the trailer and you're trying to just like, what the hell have I done with my life? I can't wait for you all to have that I just lost everything or everything fell apart moment. And they're like, what are you saying, Rick? That sounds horrible. Yeah, maybe it is horrible. Or maybe that's the thing that you need to wake up and start becoming what you're made to be. There's that word that you said I want to get back to. You talked about this word, surrender. Ooh.
Right.
People don't like that word, especially if you're a mind side and body side warrior. Mind and body, well, surrender means quitting. Surrender means failure. Surrender means giving up. Surrender means not good enough. Surrender means validating that I'm unworthy. Surrender is bad, right? But if you go
or letting something or someone else have control.
Ah, yes. I can't surrender my control. I can't surrender that. No.
Yeah.
I'll be
Yep.
hurt. That's
Yeah.
stupid. Why would I even invite that? That's dumb. Right?
Right.
But on the
Exactly.
heart side and on the spirit side, I think that it's a yin yang when we're training our warriors that we have to have all four: mind, heart, body, and spirit. We have all
Hmm.
four, but we
Yeah.
have to suppress parts that don't feel natural. And you said I had to tap into spirit. I can relate. I is very strong heart or very strong mind, very strong body. This
Right.
means battle plans, tactics, and action. I'm your guy. Let's go.
Right.
What's
Yeah.
the plan? Let's execute. What's the plan? Let's execute. Let's go get into the danger. I got you.
Right.
But my heart side shut off. Ever since I was a little kid, shut off.
Yep.
Thanks,
Yep.
Dad. Thanks, Mom.
Yep.
That's where we were at.
Yep.
And then we had spirit side. Spirit for what? Because I'm sure at some point religion was fucking nonsense.
Right.
Like at some point people would use this as a weapon. And even still, remember, I was mind side. And so I don't know if you can relate. The Bible for me was a weapon, not a connection.
Oh, wow.
I would go, oh, did you read even the chapter before that? Because it sounds like you don't know your shit. And I would start tearing people apart with their own book because they didn't have faith in that yet.
Right.
And so I would use the knowledge as a weapon. Oh, you did the Lord's Prayer today? Did you read that right before that? Jesus said, don't repeat this over and over again like the Gentiles. Read your own book. You know, like I would go at people with their own thing. And so I would weaponize the Bible. I was one, let's go ahead. I didn't have that surrender piece, but here's where I went, and I want to connect with you where I want to see that moment. And this is where I think that anybody who says it's going to take a long time to work through it, it's going to take me years to get through this therapy, it's going to take me years. No, it doesn't. It takes the moment that it clicks. And what I mean by that is I remember I went through the psychology, I went through the philosophies. I organized and diagnosed everything that I've ever done, everything I've ever been through, every failure, every success, every, behavioral issue that I had. I diagnosed it, put them all in their receptive little bins, and I had them all stacked nicely and organized.
Mm-hmm.
And then here I was still with this mountain of diagnosed and organized issues.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Why are they still here? I did all the things.
Right.
I know the things. I know the solutions. I know what it is. I have all the answers, but they're still there. They're still in here. It still weighs me down.
Mm-hmm.
And you think there's that thing where you're sitting there going through all of the choices, all of the guilt, all of the bad things I've ever done, all of the unworthiness that I must be because of my old decisions.
Mm-hmm.
And at some point I was like, you know what, God, we haven't really talked a lot. I know that I've kind of been on the other side. I was the Saul, not the Paul. I know This is where I'm coming from here.
Mm-hmm.
I am missing something and I don't know what it is. So you know what? I'm done fighting you. I'm done fighting on the spirit side. I'm done being the one who the world revolves around me. My intellect is the center of the damn universe. Who I am, I'm the guy. I'm done with that. You know what? I give it up. I surrender to you. And I don't have that audible voice, but I have thoughts that come in that aren't mine. And usually middle of the night is when I do most of my advanced writing, even when I build like psychology tools and things like this. When I build these come in the middle of the night. So there's a veil there that's weaker and God can get thoughts in that weren't there before. And I remember in that moment having that, give me your mountain of stuff, because to me, it's less than one grain of sand.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, what the hell does that mean? So I was like, you know what? Okay, fine. I surrender. Spirit side, I surrender. I'm going to give up. And when that happened, it really did feel like a grown man just stepped right off my chest.
Yeah.
I could feel the weight off, and my mountain of pain and trauma and all those things, I gave it up. Yep. And then he said, now that you can do this, I need you to go and get other people's pain and bring me their mountains.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And how do you find purpose in this? And here's where I want to relate to you, is you said, God, I surrender. And he says to you, it's not about you anymore. I need you to be of service.
Right. Exactly.
Here's one thing I noticed with anybody, and you tell
that moment for me when I was actually, I'm done, I surrender, I fell on the floor face down, body down, like I had to surrender, as if I was in Vietnam with a gun to my head because I'm going to die if I don't do this. I'm going to die. I'm going to kill myself, or I'm just going to kill myself like out of depression, or drink myself to oblivion and get nothing done. So I fell to my face and I said, I'm so done. And you're dead on exactly right. So when I got up from that, I said, what do I do, God? What do I do? Call your friend Chris. Tell him what you've done. Tell him what happened. And then Chris will help you with guidance. He had more time than me. And I knew that I could trust him and do that. And then he started with the simplest stuff. Let's just start peeling layer. Okay, do you have any money? Yeah, I've got $20 to me. Okay. You're not going to waste that money. And I mean, he just started stepping me through the process of getting out of this. And then in time, it just started peeling away. Yeah. That was where I say it takes another human being, that
God works through us.
Yeah.
And so this is where we'll start getting into the transformation part.
Right.
So here you are. Once you surrendered to this and you opened up that vulnerability and you stopped putting it all on your shoulders and you said, what do I need to do? And you said, call Chris and start moving this direction. That sounds so simple, right? But was it easy?
No, it is simple, but it's not easy. Not
People
easy.
confuse simple and easy.
I had a car that I couldn't drive my car because I couldn't afford to put tabs on it to keep it licensed. So I had to ride a bicycle in January. But I took it on as, okay, bring it. I am not going to I am not stopping. And I mean, slushy snow, cars going by as I'm riding my bicycle to the mission or to church. And I said, I'm not going to this is what going through the fire really means. If I'm willing to go through the fire, I know I can get past this. So it didn't get easy at that moment. Believe me, I felt like it got more difficult, but then I got to take those thoughts of, well, you could just go get a beer, or you could just go, hang out at the bar a little bit. And I got that warrior sense to go, no, that's stupid. That's not going to accomplish mission. That is off mission. Mission is to ride this bicycle to the mission or to church. That's all I had, and
there's a quote in there that I live by. In that moment that you're doing that, it's a Epictetus quote. I bring it up often, that your circumstances do not define who you are. They reveal you to yourself. And so here you are.
Exactly. Yes.
What kind of man are you when you have to ride your bike through the slush? You're like, I'm a man who keeps fucking pedaling. That's what I am.
Exactly. Are you
going to go to the bar and try and give up? It's like, no. I know that takes me off mission. I'm the kind of man who's going to keep fighting.
Right.
And you
through loneliness. I had no other person in my life through lonely, other than I started gathering my mission buddies that I was pouring into at the time, some people at church, I could go, then it just starts getting a little better every day. But I took those challenges of, okay, I'm supposed to go through this. This is what's going to temper the steel within me.
Now, here's one thing I want to see. What did you find when you started tempering that steel, doing the hard things? Because I don't believe that when God finds your purpose, I don't think God asks easy things. What I do is not easy, and what you are doing is not easy.
Right.
Like, we had to go into the dark and help pull people out. We had to be of service for those who need that person. They need their Chris, and you became a Chris Kringle, but we had to become a Chris to pull somebody out. And we have our mission where you may have been able to bike ride your way through and or out of hell, but now it's time to go back and get more.
Right.
How do we start getting that?
That was the blessing in all this, because the guys that I was working with, pouring into, related to me, going, wow, Corky's doing it. So when they had their challenges, when they had their stuff coming up, they would come to me and we would, I'm telling you, once I got up from the floor, I felt I had a superpower. I felt that I
Mm-hmm.
had a spirit that filled me. Like I got more strength than I've ever felt in my life behind me, and my friend Chris supported that every step of the way. So, and I watched it come true. I saw it come unveiled to me in front of me, which gave me more strength, which built on more power, which built on more, okay, guys, you guys, we're going to go to the a thrift store, and I'll make sure that you guys get bikes too. And then we would go bike riding together, and we had a team, a crew. We were building meals for people that they were going, this is incredible. I mean, we were homeless people would come. It started growing and growing and I just watched this superpower just start coming alive. And next thing, we just got an army of guys just really tearing it up and surviving and going back to work and getting back with their families. And hopefully I didn't go too far ahead.
No, I think
But
it's
it
beautiful.
was that
Because
surrender that turned everything around. It was that surrender, Rick.
we get 10 times stronger when we surrender on the spirit and heart side.
Right. Right.
This is where
Yeah.
the world, I think, is missing something right now. Is we have the second oldest religion is taking over, and that would be meism. It's all about
Yes.
me. Remember,
Yeah.
the reason I call it the second oldest is, if we do biblical, that the serpent was to tell Eve, if you eat the fruit, you will be like God. You will be
Yes.
the center of things. It's about you. And
Yeah.
that's what today's society is doing. And I think that what you've done is surrendering spirit side, opening up your heart side. You do something now that I think that we need to make sure we're putting a light on. And the word that's coming to my mind, and tell me if there's a better one, is you started to cultivate hope.
Yes. Yes, there is hope. I started seeing hope for my life turning around. My family started coming back. My youngest son started coming to the church I was going to. His family started changing and doing some things, and it really, I saw that my greatness is my goodness within me. That's my greatness, is that goodness, and my kids started seeing that, and that's when things really started going.
My greatness is my goodness. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
And so here we are now creating hope. And now that you found hope, you had to fight for hope. And then you found other men who are like, I need purpose also. I'm willing to fight for hope too. I'll follow you. Where are we going? Is like, we're going to be of service to others, and we're going to have to go through the slush. Yeah. And we're going to have to go through the cold, and we're going to have to go through the winter, and we're going to have to go through the stuff that people don't want to do. And we're going to have to do some stuff that may be all night. We're going to have to work our asses off to make sure that we can give gifts to those who do not have them. We will make food. We will make hope. We will give joy, and we will give happiness to those who do not have it. Are you seeing a pattern here?
Yeah, exactly.
So here you started to create a day or a night for people to be able to say, I want to find my own hope and my own goodness too.
Yeah.
And you were filled with the Spirit, you said. I'm filled with the Spirit. And now that Spirit starts to resemble being filled with the Christmas Spirit.
Exactly. I part of this is when I started seeing that hope, it's when you own that hope. You're not just striving for it. You start seeing it happen, and then it's ingrained deeply in you. And it's a muscle that we just start working out. Hey, I like that feeling. That feeling's better than that alcohol. That feeling's better than that woman. That feeling's better. This is deeper. This is deeper. This brings me joy. This is life-changing. This is going to change the world.
Yes.
Wow, I've never said that to myself. This is going to change the world. And it could be just the world around me. But when the world around me started changing, oh my gosh, it just started getting bigger and bigger. And the reach went farther. And wow. And I don't want to get ahead of you.
No, I think you're right on pace right now. It's starting to get to where building hope and goodness and
When you own
joy
it,
and
when you
compassion.
own it's something you
Own it.
want to feed. It's something you want
Yes.
to feed. How do I
It
feed
is
it? Serving other people. Be of
yes.
service.
It is not about you. It's about what I bring to others. It's how can I serve?
Hmm.
And you'll hear me often say, I'll meet people who are like, I can't believe I'm meeting you, Rick. I can't believe I'm meeting you, Corky. I can't believe I'm having this moment.
Yeah.
And our first thing that we say is, how can I serve you?
Yes, exactly. What are your expectations? That was my first question, Rick.
Like I'm
How can I
hoping that you
fill
get to
your
be yourself.
expectations?
Yeah. And we're both trying to serve each other.
Right. And
Greatness.
that was so honorable. Like you said, Corky, I'm so honored to have you here. And then you brought your wife in, and she was just, and I'm going, wow. And it all started from feeling that hope. I'm realizing now, thank you, Rick, is starting
You're
filling
welcome.
that hope, that there is hope, and building on it. Thank you.
Yes. Yeah, of course. That's what we're here for. And finding those different pieces. And now your worthiness is manifested in your goodness.
Hmm.
Now what you can do for others has filled your spirit. And so now I want to lean into, like, you have become now an icon. You have become the face of hope and joy and cheer and giving. And I think this is very important because Santa is the face of gifts, giving. I want to give. And,
Hmm.
Christmas spirit is about, giving and about serving and
Hmm.
about being of service. And how can I share? Like, it's Christmas. Of course, I'm going to be kind during this time.
Yeah.
Can you tell me, how did you transition into the Santa world?
I wanted to back up. I had a little bit of a thought
Oh,
that
go for it.
um and I can't I yeah, for some reason I'm spacing off here, trying to
Let's
figure
just
that out.
jump
But
back when it comes back, because it'll come
yeah,
back.
okay. um you were talking about goodness, filling, okay. And well, what I'll just tell you the story. What had happened is, in this journey, uh 9 years ago, 9.5 years, well, actually it's been 10 years, I met my wife. And because she worked at the mission part-time in, the mission at that time had a catering service that was run, they catered for all over, and it helped generate money for, they had a whole big beautiful kitchen, and it helped generate money for, the mission itself. And she worked, her regular job, but then on weekends and evenings or whatever, she worked at catering. And she happened to be at a veterans event, and I'm a veteran, so I went there because my guys were, that lived at the mission, were helping serve at this meal that they were making for the veterans. And my boss at the mission at that time, the next day, said, "Corky, are you single?" And I go, "Yeah, I'm single." "Well, I have somebody I would like to introduce to you." And there we go. That was October 10 years ago. And now this year we're going to celebrate our 10th, next year, our 10th anniversary. So, and
So
that
that's how
moment is
Santa met Mrs. Claus. I see you.
right.
Okay.
Serving, serving,
Hmm.
serving. I
I love,
just,
the more that you give,
I'm
the more you
telling
will
you,
find coming your way.
yes. And that's, I think, the more that you do that, I am like, that is my whole life mission, is how can I serve more? How can I serve more? And it's between me and God, the direction that we go into is, I want to serve so much now. So anyway, and so then, we have a blended family, and then we have our grandkids. Some are on my side and some are on her side, but we're grandma and grandpa to them. Papa, I'm papa to them. But we want, my son said, "Why don't we take some pictures of the grandkids, because you have your old suit from when I was a kid?" And I said, "Sure." And he's an up and coming, he wanted to be a photographer. It's on a side gig or something. So I said, "Sure." And he took some pictures, and then he goes, "Dad," he turned the camera around and he showed me the pictures. He says, "I think you need to take this a little more serious." Now, I had just grown my beard. It wasn't as long as it is now, but and I looked at the picture and I go, "Wow, you kind of look like Santa there, Gus. You know. And my wife heard that, and she put it on our neighborhood app. She has a neighborhood app to see what's going on, if there's any chaos, or if somebody's selling something or needs some help doing it. Anyway, it's our neighborhood. She put that picture on there and says, if anybody needs a Santa to come to their house, just let us know. And she had a couple people respond to that. That was 7 years ago. That turned into, it just blew up. It just blew up. And so I began to train under my mentor, Santa, that's been in Hollywood, the movies, did everything. And now I belong to a group of Santas, 6,000 wide. And I don't want to tell the end of the story, but I'm in the top 0.001% of Santas in the world. So
you're damn right you are.
And I don't want to. I don't mean that.
I'm bragging for you. I'm bragging for you. I don't care. I remember I was sitting. Andrea and I were in bed, and she was scrolling. I don't even scroll TikTok, man. I don't even manage my own. It's hilarious.
Yeah.
But she scrolls through, and you are live, and she was like, "Oh my!" Because she loved Christmas is her favorite. She loves, like, we're already doing the tree before Thanksgiving. Like, she's already in Christmas.
Yeah.
So like she sees you, and she's like, "Oh my God, this makes me so happy." Like, you were just like, "Hey," like doing your thing. And I was like, "Dude, that guy, that's Santa. Like, that's who that is. That's real." You were drinking Coca-Cola out of the bottle. I was like, yes.
I had an Italian artist send that to me from Italy. He paid a ton of money for that to just ship it, but he drew that. He painted that.
It's so good. And you embodied it perfectly. She was so happy. And she sent a gift on TikTok from my account, the Warriors Way Mindset account.
Uh-huh.
And you were like, Warriors Way Mindset. Let me check you out. Like, oh, I love this. This is great. I'm going to follow you back. And then you would message me. Let me just tell you.
It's that perceptive. When you start looking for the right things, this is what happens. Guys, when you start putting your vision to serve others and being there, you get these blessings, you get these gifts. You cannot stop it. I've tried to outgive God. I do really well compared to what I used to be on my $1,700 Social Security before I started my TikTok. I do really well. I'm able to give hundreds of dollars to people. But when you do that, God sends you these kind of people. God sends you Ricks. And it's, I get thousands of comments. I get gifts like crazy. I'm so blessed and so honored that people do that for me. And to pick one out like that, it's a God thing. So I feel like every day I say, Lord, tune me in. And it could be somebody that needs prayer for cancer, or their dad left and hasn't come back for years, or, but that's I look to serve. And what happens is, boom, Rick shows up into our life, and Andrea.
Yeah. It was wonderful.
Go ahead. I'll let you finish.
No, that was beautiful. I love that.
Yeah.
Like, yes, like you see, like your purpose is manifesting. And so,
right.
In that moment, I remember she was walking on air after that. She was like, Santa friended us, and Santa followed us back, and Santa, yes, like, because she loves Christmas, and you are Santa. And so I was like, we got to know who this guy is. And then you started DMing us, and we started texting each other, and she was like, we know Santa. Like, it was one of those things where, like, you became a highlight of the house, and you didn't even know yet. And it was a very beautiful moment. And so from then I was like, we have to showcase the goodness of what you're doing. And I love that you said, greatness is my goodness. And we just wanted to give you just one more. Greatness. Oh yeah. Goodness is my greatness.
Uh-huh.
And I just wanted to share with you that even just one tiny moment of acknowledgement that you had fought so hard to get, you had done rodeos and done wild things to get that moment of acknowledgement. And now in just one moment of service, you can make somebody their whole night is now better. And it was only a few seconds for you, but it was like a whole week here.
Yeah.
And very,
Oh, that's
very,
so
very
cool.
grateful for that.
Yeah, that is so cool. Yeah.
So thank you for that. We want to honor you for that. And then
Thank
being
you.
able to have this moment. She actually said today, when I said I'm recording with you today, she was like, it's the first time I've ever been truly jealous of like, were you podcasting today? She's like, you get to hang out with Santa. And
Right.
it's very, very cool that now you are the face of joy. You are the face of hope, and you are the face of goodness, and you are the face now to give people that moment when they scroll and they see people bitching and fighting and angry and judging and guilt and shame and you're bad and this bad news thing and this stuff going on in the world and wars and famines and pain. And then there's a moment where you can just see Santa going, I'm fighting for good. I'm fighting for you to be able to go, hey, that's not all bad. It's not all bad. And it starts inside of you where you can start fighting too. And I'm going to tell you, it's not easy. Fight
So
for
true.
good sounds simple, but damn, is it hard. Some days you're going to have to take your sleigh through the slush in the winter, and some days you're alone. And some days it's cold and wet and horrible. And some days don't go well. And some days you get stuck in the damn chimney. And some days suck.
Yeah.
But keep going.
Yeah.
And you're not alone. And people will start finding hope with you because you have the warrior courage to keep pushing forward instead of
pretty soon
surrendering.
you'll have an army behind you, pushing you forward and cheering you on.
And you do now. How many people now, and this is not a testament to your end of your game, but just where in your journey, you have millions of people following and
I have
millions of people.
1.9 million, almost 2 million following me on TikTok. We just started with Instagram. I have Michael. Michael helps me out. I found myself to go, I need some help here out of from mentoring from some of my friends, not so much in the social media, but in just business world. You have to start hiring people, and if you want a bigger reach. And I said, that's no problem, let's go. So Michael came into my life, and with the same passion, same vision. I mean, what a godsend. See, that's what happens too, is God will bring them. And I envisioned what the kind of person that Michael wanted. So I'm really into, okay, Lord, give me my, I'm thinking, I take time every day and I just get quiet. I pray and I envision what we can do out there with God's guidance. And I envisioned a Michael, and Michael is above and beyond what I could ever envision. It happens. God sends them to you. God provides those people by just visualizing what you want in there. When you find out that God has put you on a mission and a passion in your life, it could be, I don't care, sports, whatever you love, whatever you really truly love doing, go for it and ask God to help you. How can I serve more through this? And anyway, I got off on a tangent there, but God will send them to you,
I think I'm going to add one more piece here that, and you can change this if you need to, but when I think about that connection to God, I do go to the source and I read how Jesus would do it. And he said, when you're going to do these prayers that Corky's talking about, when you're going to do these prayers, go to your bedroom, shut the door, and talk to him, because he knows what you need already. And just talk to him the way you talk to him. You don't have to recite something over and over again. Go in and talk to him like you would. He knows you swear. He knows what your stuff. He's not mad at you for that stuff. That's fine. Talk to him.
Right.
And close the door. This isn't a spectacle. You don't have to be at church. You don't have to do it any other way. You can go and just talk to God the way that you talk to God. And I think that that's something I want to really leave with people. To fill yourself with the Spirit doesn't mean you have to be a spectacle. The way that you do it is when you give your heart and your surrender to God, no different than when you give your heart and surrender to the people that you love.
Right. And I believe in surrendering every day to start my day. Um, and when I'm in the process, this is truly what has changed my life. Is I've always been in prayer and I've been yakety yak 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 yak. Okay, God, I need this, or what do you want? You know, blah, 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 blah. I don't do that anymore. I go, okay, if we're going to have some communication like we do with Rick or our friends, I have to listen. So I'll say, and I start my prayer off by honoring and being grateful and talking to him a few grateful things every day, that I just got quiet, and I say, thank you for this beautiful day. Thank you for my family. Thank you for the roof over my head. Thank you for everything that you're providing. I am so honored and you loved by you, and you're showing me that love right now. And I just worship you and thank you for what you've done in my life. And then, what do you want me to do today, Lord? How can I serve? And then I shut up, and it's uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable because my mind wants to go, hey, I got to get on Rick's podcast here at 9:00. I got, I'm all over the place, but I got to okay, shut up. And then I write down the words that I start hearing. Some of them are stupid words. Like I don't, it doesn't have anything to, but then I get little, God speaks to me that way. And it's not an audible voice. It's just the words. And then I write down those words, and I listen to God. And by doing that, I am where I am today by the grace of God in my life, by doing that. And sometimes I don't want to do what he asked me to do.
He doesn't ask easy things.
But he asks things to temper me.
Yes.
He asks things to build relationships. God is about relationship, and that's truly all God is. Totally built. I don't believe God cares what you're doing as long as you're building relationships. If you want to be a plumber, be a plumber. If you want to be a bartender, be a bartender. I don't think God cares. It's just so that you honor him in everything you do and put him first. It doesn't matter. I don't think God cares what you're doing for a living, other than if you're hurting people or, that kind of thing. But you can serve him in whatever you do in a miraculous way. Good grief.
That's true. You serve God by being Santa.
Right.
That's amazing. And like I serve God by working in the psychology world, and I serve God by going into hell.
That's not an easy job. That's not that is you're constantly walking through mud, sometimes knee deep, waist deep. Sometimes you're going, I don't know. Mm-hmm. You're here, and I get that. Working with recovering people, you got to hear some ugly stuff, horrifying.
I have to give those mountains to God. That's part of my purpose. And I have to go and gather the darkest of thoughts, the suicidal thoughts, the addictions, the depression, the molestations, the stuff that's like the most pain that people have ever gone through. I have to go in these memories to help them fight. And that's my purpose. And so this is where, like, an honor to both of us too, because the lives and the ripple effect from the work that we do to serve, it goes on way beyond us. And the families that now, like of the guys that you said, let's just make the best meal, has turned into families that now exist that maybe wouldn't have.
Right.
And the ripple effect of what we do and the lessons that we will leave in our wake and the memories of the things that we've created in our lives will be moving long after we're forgotten.
Right.
I know that the ripple effect of my existence will have.
Right.
Go ahead.
One of my biggest goals is when people are talking about something, their life or in their story, that I come up in their story, that my name is mentioned, and I'm not even around. I'm not even there, but I come up in their conversation of how their life has changed, the difference that you made, that I was able
the time that I got to listen to Santa.
Right.
Yeah. Right. I honestly, I'm going to give you a little credit here. I love that you do the Zoom calls with people for like the kids to go like, hey, if you want Santa to show up, you can call Santa and he'll be like, oh, hey, and be like, what's up, Jonathan? And like, and they'll be like, what the fuck? Like, the
That's
kids at school
exactly
said that this is not a thing. They said
right.
that Santa's not real. And I'm talking to the dude, and he's like, I'll see you in just next month. I'm looking forward to it. And like,
Yep.
get out of here. That
Right.
you can't tell me. I talked to him.
Right. Right. Oh, that's
and
so
and
fun. Yeah.
you get to keep the Christmas spirit to make it so people do work on their goodness and their hope and their happiness and their joy, and you get to actually give people a tangible moment. And so I think you may be able to leave these memories, these core memories of these little kids that you get to talk to. It'll be there long after we're gone.
Right. You know, even along with that is that I have so many adults in there all the time, and they go, I get to hear it all in there. I'm so fortunate that you're bringing out the inner child in me. I go, yes, because if you could bring that innocence back out, that feeling of love, passion, it may bring you to tears because it brings back memories of your mom or your dad that's passed away, or a grandma, or just bringing back that feeling of warmth, togetherness, joy, magical. If I can bring that in there, then I've affected the adult. And if I can affect the adult that way, I can change the world, because then they
Yes.
start their day going out and making a difference. And I put up a little video, and at the end of the video, I said, please just go out and make somebody smile. And that video just absolutely, it got a lot of attention, uh, because go out and be yourself, be the person that God intended you to be, that you wanted to be. Um, but if I can bring that magic out, you can. Just because I got the white hair and the white beard, that's just part of it, because it's inside you. It's in there, just ready to come out to fill you up, to fill you up. Your cup's going to get so full that it's just going to start overflowing, and people are going to be gathered to you. People are going to be attracted to you. That's what makes you attractive, is that spirit within, that spirit to serve within. That goodness needs to keep coming out. And all this other stuff, that the alcoholism, the pressure, the addiction, the food addictions, the side woman out there, all that stuff you think is filling you up, doesn't even compare to this. And believe me, I know. I know. Okay.
Santa knows. That's such an awesome place.
Yeah.
Santa, thank you so much. Thank
Oh,
you for all the service that you do. Thank you for all the help that you've given, and thank you for the hope that you're bringing back into people's lives. Thank you.
thank you. Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you so much.
If we can do one more thing of service, if people were to say, I want more of this, how can I have Santa be there for me? Where would you have people go if they're like, I want to have time with you? Or where do you want them to go to be able to get more of what it is that you're bringing to the world so they can help others too? Where would you send them
Well,
to do the
if
work for
you're
you?
doing it, I would suggest you go see Rick, guys, males. If he'll help you walk through a lot of this. But I'm on TikTok as Santa Corky. That's Corky, Santa Corky. Um, and make sure that you have to see the 1.9 million, because I have hundreds of people copying what I do. And if you see 1.9 million or 2 million, that's usually me. I do have a Santa. He's probably online right now. He's robbed me my lives. And anyway, that's not me, because it's got to say Santa Corky on it. So, and then on Instagram, it's Santa Corky also. We have about 11,000 followers on there and growing. And then YouTube, I'm on Santa Corky on those places. So I go live nearly every day. Most every day I'm live. So if you want to bring you and your family in there and help me spread the cheer, share it with other people. And then I have my website. If you want me to do a virtual visit for your family, just go to santacorky.com, And you can schedule a virtual visit with me where I come in and do that. Or if you just need me to talk to somebody and you tell me what you would like them to say, I'll make a recording for them also. And I hope.
Such awesome services. We'll make sure we have all the links in these bios. You can click on Santa Corky stuff.
I hope to hear
this
from
is awesome. Yeah, me too. Thank you again, Santa. I really appreciate you.
You bet.